Many miseries come to our way when we react. The main question that we should ask always to ourselves is why react? We should understand the fact that we see through our mind, and the mind is super reactive. The mind is like the mirror, it is quick to sink in all that happens before it, and then it is also super quick to react. It operates just like a mirror, and unless you are able to overcome this mind, this mirror, you will continue to react because that is the nature of the mind. That is how it is supposed to be. That is how it is meant to be. And ignorance makes you believe that you are the mind. Whatever happens to the mind, it happens to you. You become the mind. When in reality, you are not the mind. The very nature of the mind is in its restlessness. It is never at one place, but you have to still the mind. The whole purpose of this human life is to still the mind, and that is the very first step of realizing the essence of spirituality. It is from this point that the journey towards the beyond begins. The first preparation is to still the mind. Form is emptiness, emptiness is the form, says the Heart Sutra, one of the best Buddhist sutras. An empty mind is a still mind, and a still mind is a peaceful mind. A yogi sees through his heart because to him the mind is no more in existence. Only the heart exists, and the heart is always right. The heart is always right if there is a question of choosing between the mind and the heart, because mind is a creation of society. It has been educated. You have been given it by the society, not by existence. The heart is unpolluted. You will reach your heart only when your mind becomes still. And to still the mind, you have to meditate. You have to turn inwards. You have to look within. When the mind is still, the truth gets a chance to be heard in the purity of silence. The Buddha mind is still, as it knows truth and lives in the eternal moment called now. Remember, Buddha is not a name, it is a title. One whose mind is still, one who is living in suchness, one who is a Tathagat, is Buddha. Incidentally, next week, my new book, Beauty of Acceptance, Tathat, is coming your way, and you all can avail a copy of it. I am certain that those who have been following me closely will benefit from it. Always remember, awareness is living moment to moment. One who lives in the present is able to pay 100% attention, and one who can pay attention in totality always succeeds in achieving his or her goals. The key is to be in the present, in this very moment, and that is possible only when your mind is still. And so the first step towards spirituality is to still the mind. And to still the mind, you have to turn inwards, you have to meditate, you have to jump within and explore your true self. Sri Raman Maharshi says, mind alone is the cause of bondage and release. Success in turning the mind inward is achieved by practice and dispassion, and it succeeds only gradually. You see, things happen, but those things happen gradually, step by step. Lahari Mahashaya used to say, Banat Banat Banjai. You see, the whole purpose of human life is to overcome the mind and reach towards the heart. The moment this happens, meditation happens. And the moment you attain the no mind state, you become a yogi. It is a long journey from mind to heart. The journey can be of million lives, multiple births and rebirths, until one day you reach the place where God dwells, your heart. A yogi is the epitome of the meditative stage. He is the enlightened being. He is no more meditating, he is meditation. That is how a true yogi is. That is how Krishna is. That is how Jesus is. That is how the Prophet is. And that is how the Buddha is. And that is how the enlightened masters are, beyond the mind, mindless. And when there is no mind, the question of reacting simply doesn't arise. And that is what happened when few people came and started insulting Gautama Buddha. Buddha smiled. These people, they were surprised by his smile. One of them stepped ahead and said, "We are not saying, we are insulting you." Buddha smiled again. He said, "For that you have come a little late. You should have come at least 10 years ago. Now I am not so foolish. You can insult, that is your freedom. But whether to take it or not is my freedom. I am not taking it." And he said to them, "In the other village which I just passed before yours, people came with sweets to offer me. I thanked them. I said, I don't need sweets and I don't eat sweets. What do you think they must have done with the sweets?" Somebody from the crowd said, "They must have taken them back home." Buddha said, "Now what will you do? You will have to take your insults back home. I don't take your insults. There is no other way. You have to take them back." A yogi is not controlled by the mind. There is simply no mind, no mirror. How can the reflection, reaction take place? No mind is no mirror. Whatever you do, whatever you say, simply never sinks in. And so there is no reflection, no reaction. And this is significant because this is the only way to break the repeating pattern of your karma. The moment you stop reacting, your whole life becomes an abode of peace. The more and more you stop reacting, the more you create a possibility of breaking the vicious circle of karma that has been carried along through many births and rebirths of yours. Everybody talks about the law of karma, but how to break the vicious circle of karma? And the answer is by being tolerant and by not reacting. During the last days of Osho's life, Osho had mentioned about few ignorant men who were trying to create certain negativity through esoteric black magic practices just to cause harm to his life. In one of his last discourses, Osho mentions about certain negative people involved in creating certain disturbing cosmic noise to harm his well-being. But Osho says, although I am perfectly aware of what is being done to cause harm to me, I am not going to retaliate. I am not going to react. And this is what Buddha also said to those men who were throwing the dirt of insults on him. I am not going to react. I am not going to retaliate. You are free to gift me with your insult, and I am free to reject your gift of insult. Please take it back. To break the vicious cycle of repeating karma, one has to refrain from reacting, else the cycle of action and reaction continues, engulfing you in the unending cycle of birth and rebirth. You feel insulted only when you have participated with the person, but you are not conscious. So anybody can push your buttons. You function like a machine. Push the button and you are on. Push the button and you are off. Anybody can enrage you. Anybody can make you smile and laugh. Anybody can make you cry and weep. Anybody, any stupid fellow can do that. One just needs to know where the buttons are. And almost always they are in the same places. It is very rare to find a person whose buttons are in different places. Anybody can find just a little groping and you can find anybody else's button. If you know your button, you know everybody else's button. You will be in difficulty only with a Buddha, one who is a yogi, a deeply meditative person. Because you can go on pushing his buttons and nothing will happen because he is no more identified with his mechanism. He will watch you pushing his buttons and he will enjoy the exercise that you are giving him. But that's all. He does not take offense and he does not give it. He never returns evil for evil. He understands humanity so deeply. By understanding himself, he has understood the miserable state of all human beings. He feels sorry for people. He is compassionate. He laughs out at the ignorance just the way a father laughs at the ignorance of his children. Once it happened, an enlightened Zen master was once giving a discourse and a huge crowd had gathered. The whole place was packed, and suddenly someone who wasn't in agreement to what the Zen master was saying removed his right foot shoe and threw it on him. But the Zen master was quick. He caught the shoe in the middle and looked at the man. The man was angry for missing the shot. The whole crowd stood up. They all were shocked by this incident. But the Zen master smiled, looked at the man and said, "You throw the other one too. What am I going to do with just one shoe? If you want to present something, it should be complete." The man waited, and the Zen master said, "Why are you waiting? Throw the other shoe also." because this way neither I will be able to use the shoe nor you will be able to use it. And I am not going to return it because evil should not be returned for evil. So you please give the other one too. The man was shocked. He could not believe it at first, what he had done. He could not believe. He was a very good man, a well-known scholar. He was not expected to behave like that, but it had happened. People are so unconscious. The moment you become angry, you lose your consciousness. You become an utterly ignorant person. Then there is no question of humanity. All that comes out of you is a dreadful animal. But the Zen master is a man of awareness. He would not react, he would never react. He would simply respond in his own way, human way. Now, if the Zen master would have reacted the same way, then everything would have appeared okay. But his unconscious action was met with a conscious response. He was dazed. This was something else. The man was embarrassed. He went away without answering, but in the night, when the Zen master was alone, he came and touched the feet of the master and said, "Please forgive me." And the Zen master said, "You forgot all about it. You just forget. There is no question. I was not angry, and so why should I forgive you? To forgive, first one has to be angry. I was not angry. I enjoyed the scene. In fact, it was something so beautiful that many people who had fallen asleep were suddenly awakened. I was thinking on the way that it is a good idea that I should plant a few of my followers so once in a while they can throw a shoe so all the sleepers will wake up. At least for a few moments they will remain alert because something is happening. I am thankful to you." For years, this man went on writing to the Zen master, "Please forgive me. Unless you forgive me, I will go on writing." But the master told him, "First I have to be angry. Forgiving you simply means I accept that I was angry. How can I forgive you? You forgive me because I am unable to be angry with you. Unable to forgive you, you forgive me." And the Zen master waited for many months and many years, and yet the man never replied. He never came back. Somewhere, sometime, and at some place, the repetitive cycle of karma must stop. And it stops only when you stop being reactive. And you can stop reacting when you are able to turn inwards, meditate, inquire within, and still the mind, and eventually overcome your mind and come to the no mind state. No thought, no mind, no choice, just being silent, rooted in yourself. The very purpose of self-inquiry is to focus the entire mind at its source, merging into the source of ego, which is the fullness of consciousness, and abiding there is realization. Once you take the journey within, all that is outside of you becomes even more beautiful than before. Within the spiritual journey, you understand that suffering becomes something that has been given to you to show you where your mind is still stuck. It's a vehicle to help you go to work. That's why it's called grace. Suffering has a noble purpose: to awake you. The greatest journey is the journey within. Journey within yourself. The way is not in the sky, the way is in the heart, says the Buddha. Just look at life with more playful eyes. Don't be serious. Seriousness becomes like blindness. Don't pretend to be a thinker, a philosopher. Just simply be a human being. The whole world is showering its joy on you in so many ways. But if you are too serious, you cannot open your heart. Love life, be more happy, because God can come only to a happy soul. Only when you are utterly happy is there a possibility. Otherwise, not. Because misery closes you, bliss opens you up. Every morning when we get up, life always gives a choice. What do you want to select? What you want to choose? What you want to focus on? If you focus on those things which are not in your life, you will always be in a misery. And if you focus on those things which are in your life, then you will always be a happy person. Everything depends on the focus. What you focus on grows. So focus on the positive things in your life. There was a man, and he was a poor man. He goes to a garden, he sits on the bench, and he starts wondering that what a difficult life I have. I want to buy a new pair of shoes, but I don't have money. And how difficult my life is, and how miserable my life is. And he is thinking about all these things, you see. And at that same point, he sees a man without legs, moving on a wheelchair. And suddenly his thoughts change. He now starts feeling very fortunate, because he says that thank God, at least I have legs to walk. You see, just a little bit of change in the perspective, and the whole meaning of life changes. Just a few moments ago he comes and he feels very unfortunate because he doesn't have money to buy a pair of shoes. And then he sees a man who has no legs, and then he realizes that at least I have legs. So it all depends on your perspective. You should value what you have in your life. Only then you will find happiness. So, the moral of the story is that happiness comes when you have a grateful heart. The more you are grateful, the more you are thankful, the more God will take care of you. So be more and more grateful. Every day thank God for all that you have in your life. And that is how you will experience more and more happiness in your life. Let there be more and more awareness in your life. Meditate.